There was a time in my life when I used fitness apps and tracking devices all the time. So if you were in that place and you're using them or thinking about using them, I really want you to listen to this video because there's a couple things that I'm going to caution around using them because of the impact that it can have on you, on your physical and mental well-being. It is okay if you're in a place right now where you're using the app because how could you not, considering the culture that we exist in? Fitness apps are advertised and encouraged and often are just presented as something that can help you to be healthier. But the reality is I and many other people that I've worked with over the years end up suffering significantly because of using the fitness app. So I'm gonna give you a couple reasons why I would caution against using fitness apps before you dive into using them. I know you might already be thinking, well, the fitness apps that I use actually feel helpful. They help me to track my steps. They help me to track my workouts. They help me to track potentially food. Fitness apps do a lot of different things these days. And so if that's what you're thinking, then I think this video would definitely be helpful for you. And if you have other people in your life that are like, yeah, I use fitness apps, they're no issue, I think it's helpful to be really cautious into using these apps and going into using them because there's a lot that can happen that isn't so helpful and ends up harming us along the way if we're using fitness apps to track things. But before we dive into that, my name is Catherine Metzelar. I'm a registered dietitian, certified intuitive eating counselor, and I help people to create peace with food and their bodies so that they can live a life with more presence, abundance, and freedom. You definitely want to take a listen to this. Because wellness and fitness culture is so normalized and really elevated in our culture, in our diet culture, I think it can often be really hard to distinguish differences between something that could be helpful and something that could potentially be harmful. And sometimes these things start off as being helpful, right? We get on an app or we start eating in a certain way and it feels helpful. And then over time, it starts to feel not so helpful. So I think it can be really helpful to talk about the potential harms of things like fitness apps so that you can think about it twice before you use it and or to affirm an experience that maybe you've had in the past or are having now, which is that you're finding you're getting kind of wrapped up in the app, kind of obsessive, maybe about tracking, fearful about not completing certain things that the app is asking of you. So let's talk about that together. Let's dive into some specific reasons. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I would not recommend that you use fitness apps. The first reason is because I believe it breaks the connection and the intuition that you have with your body. What I mean by this more specifically is there is nothing wrong with movement. In fact, movement and exercise can be something that is really supportive for human bodies. The way in which it's different when you're using a fitness app versus checking in with your body is that the app often dictates how much physical activity you're doing and not doing. And in fact, it often pushes people, from my experience and from my clients' experience, pushes you to do things that you might want to not do in that day or might not have the energy for. And so it ends up being that you are having this app, this fitness app designed by who knows who, dictating how much you're supposed to move every day. When the reality is some days you're going to need more movement, some days you're going to need less, some days you're going to need rest. And the work really lies within developing a greater sense of connection and intuition to your body and respecting when your body is asking for rest, understanding when your body is wanting movement, and anything in between. I think fitness apps really disrupt the connection and intuition that you have or may need to develop with your body to understand what kind of movement does it enjoy? Does it need movement? Does it need rest? The second reason why I would not recommend fitness apps is because it's very easy to get obsessively focused on whatever the app is dictating that you should be doing. I know there's plenty of apps, and I've used these in the past, that track your steps, for example. And so it's common to feel anxious when you don't reach that amount of steps, or to feel shame or guilt when you don't get out that day to complete those steps, or to be in competition with other people because you want to get more steps than that. It is really, really easy for a lot of people to get hyper fixated and focused on steps, again, instead of checking in with their body to understand what it may be needing. Now, I'm not saying that encouragement isn't helpful, and don't we all struggle with getting out and going for walks more often? I think that there's other ways that we can do this that don't require that we track our every move and step in that way, because what happens when we're tracking it in that way is it really externalizes the experience. I'm doing this for an app, I'm doing this to complete a number of steps, instead of connecting to and understanding, why are you even going for walks? What's the motivation here? Do you want to move your body more? Do you want to be more flexible and fluid, right? What's the objective? And I think that using fitness apps really just gets in the way and makes us really hyperfixated and obsessed, and ends up taking up a lot of our headspace and time, which really just defeats the purpose of engaging in joyful movement to begin with. The third reason why I would not recommend using a fitness app is because oftentimes the recommendations in regards to movement that are often rooted in how much weight you want to lose or how many calories you need to expend or use are often very much rooted in diet culture and disordered eating. The reality is your needs, your body's needs in regards to the amount of energy that it needs from food, aka calories, really varies each day. And a lot of fitness apps that are out there recommend really low, scarily low, harmfully low calorie amounts, and on top of that are recommending certain kinds of movements. And so it ends up just really making a lot of people confused, and also tends to lead to folks developing a disordered relationship with movement, where they feel like they need to be engaging in high intensity movement all the time. They need to be burning a certain amount of calories. And that leads to a dysfunctional and disordered relationship with exercise over time. And of course, if there's any element of food and nutrition and calorie recommendations in that with fitness apps, that often adds to the confusion and the disorder that was already there developing. And the other thing we have to keep in mind too is that the people that are designing these apps are making big, huge generalizations about what you're needing, what you need to be doing each day. But the reality is, human bodies are complex. What you're needing and wanting every day will change. And oftentimes the core and focus of what they're recommending is rooted in the pursuit of weight loss. If this is not something that you are wanting, or you're wanting to move away from because you know the harms that restrictive eating can cause, and dieting and the pursuit of weight loss, then fitness apps likely are not a good option for you, and you might want to consider not using the fitness apps. And if you're currently using a fitness app and you are saying to yourself right now, well, I don't really have an issue with it, it's fine. The way that you can tell and understand your relationship with a fitness app is to start using it less. So you could stop using it entirely, you could stop tracking a couple days, and if you start to notice anxiety or fear around every single move that you're taking or doing, whether if it's at the gym or taking a walk outside or anything else, if you start to feel anxious about that, then that's a sign that likely your relationship with this fitness app and the things that it's recommending is likely dysfunctional. There's something going on there that's impacting your mental health. Not to mention, in addition to this, the recommendations that fitness apps are making can be really harmful to people's physical health and well-being. I am, again, not saying that there isn't room and space for people to move more generally, but I really want to emphasize that it's a general recommendation and doesn't take into account you and your needs and your own healing and recovery. For a lot of people, when they have had a dysfunctional relationship with food and they're healing their relationship with food in their body, exercise and what I like to call movement is really tricky because it's often wrapped up in trying to control one's body shape and size, trying to spend the energy that you ate in that day. And all of that is really disordered and is rooted in diet culture and what diet culture teaches us that we should be eating as little as possible and moving as much as possible every single day. And not only is that not possible, it ends up causing us really significant harm over time. So if you are wanting to shift your relationship with your body, and in this case in particular exercise and movement, if you are on a path to discover joyful movement, which is something that I would definitely recommend that you pursue, that you take a look into, I do not recommend using fitness apps. I think that most of them are rooted in diet culture, they are rooted in rules, they are rooted in this belief that somebody else knows what's best for you and you should be following that. And it really disconnects you from your own intuition and the practice that I would encourage you to do, which is understanding what it is your body is needing on a day-to-day basis. Now, is that a perfect science? No. Sometimes you're going to say, you know what, I think I could use some movement. You go out, you go for a walk, and you realize actually that exhausted you even more. Or vice versa, right? You decide to rest and realize actually what you needed is movement. It's a process of discovering, of experimenting, and coming to the realization that there is no right way here. That yes, engaging in movement is helpful for us, but our needs really vary each day. And when we get really obsessed with tracking things, and in this case, when it comes to exercise, it often takes away from our quality of life. It takes away from our ability to be present with other people. It takes away from time to have fun, time to rest, and so many other things. People that I work with and have the joy, pleasure, and honor of supporting are often really working hard on this because so much of their life in the past, as it was the case for me, was consumed by tracking things, consumed by tracking every single way in which they were moving. And we have to move away from that if we're wanting to heal our relationship with our body and with exercise or movement. If you like this video, give it a like below. If you want more information and content and help and support around how to heal your relationship with food and your body, subscribe to my channel. I've got some free resources for you below, and I'd also love to hear from you. What has your experience been like with fitness tracking apps? I bet that there are a lot of people, including yourself, that have had similar experiences, and so I'd love to hear from you below as well. I hope to see you soon.